Hello everybody, so this video is entitled MSTR stock Q4 is coming up. It's Q4 tomorrow after market close, and of course if you watch this video on Thursday, the Q4 is today. What to expect? What do I expect? So let's go. So tomorrow is the big headline day. What I expect is perhaps some volatility in the price prior to the headline. Why? Because the media will have a field day. I already saw some articles. The media is getting very excited. MSTR will be the punching bag tomorrow. Fully expect that. The valuably teethed Financial Times with valuable teeth. They already fired shots about 2 days ago. I expect the valuably teethed Financial Times to have a few pieces tomorrow, and they will not be the only ones. The more TradFi, the more legacy you are, the worse the take. That's kind of what I expect. So we'll see how that goes. But get ready for terms like margin call, terms like liquidation, terms like leverage, terms like underwater. They do it for the clicks. But if you've been following this channel, you know that these should be the truth. The stock is safe for years, actually 30 months, even if Bitcoin drops to about 15K. 15 and 20, depending on how you calculate and which type of debt you look at. So the stock is safe for years, even if Bitcoin drops to below 20K, even down to 15K. He's been through this before. Came out stronger before. He was underwater for over a year. That's when I bought most of my shares, by the way. Then, the converse will equitize. People talk about the debt. They forget that this is convertible debt. If you are bullish on Bitcoin, if you think Bitcoin rebounds, you know that the converts will not be paid off. The converts will just be paid off via pre-agreed dilution at a premium from when they were issued. That was the genius of these converts. And that's why we believe on this channel in the MNAV number of 1.1, which is given that strategy, because we are bullish on Bitcoin all the way. And so that means the converts will equitize. The converts only don't equitize if Bitcoin is at 20K or 15K. Yeah, then in that case, you need to repay them. But if you're bullish on Bitcoin, yes, obviously the converts will equitize. And then lastly, the preferreds never need to be repaid. On this channel, we know full well what perpetual means. We're perpetual preferred. This is an instrument that hasn't existed for hundreds of years. This is why Wall Street keeps thinking of the preferreds as this instrument that needs to be repaid, because they often are. This is not the case for strategy. The preferred is perpetual, that is forever, that as long as you keep paying the dividend, you're good. And that's only for some of the preferreds. For other preferreds, he can even skip the dividend. So that's the preferred. These are the facts. These are the truths that I do not expect to be in the media reporting tomorrow and in viral X accounts. You know, there's some podcast host who has made it a mission to criticize Saylor any way he can, a very famous podcast host. You probably know him. Oh, I cannot wait for strategy to be $1,000 to make videos about this, because make no mistake, it will get there. Bitcoin is not dead. Bitcoin has been called dead for decades. Well, not decades, but at least 1 decade. I've been hearing Bitcoin is dead for at least 1 decade. As you know, on this channel, I got in Bitcoin in 2015, sold it. Unfortunately, he thought I was real smart. That's why Saylor always said, you don't sell your Bitcoin. Yeah, if you sell your Bitcoin, it's only to get back in later. You know, I had to get back into the Bitcoin into multi-$1,000 range. If only I had kept it. The point is, tomorrow's earnings call is going to feature non-TradFi analyst. I love this. I absolutely love this. Please, can we just have every company do that? Please. I think that was a call of Elon Musk too, like when he was talking about boneheaded questions not being cool and moving to YouTube. Please, we need more YouTubers. We need more normal people on these calls who actually own these companies and care about these companies. We need more of that. Less of people who just care about making a report. Most analysts just care about making a report, a price target, a recommendation 12 months out. This is not what we need for MSTR. For MSTR, we need innovative people. I like the panel very much on Q4. I like it very much. I'm particularly excited about Lawrence Lepard. I've listened to him. I haven't read his book because he said it's an entry-level book, so I'm like, I don't really want to read it if it's entry-level. But I like the way he speaks. I like Larry very much. He tells it like it is, and I really enjoy that. Tom Lee is going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating because Tom Lee is in a similar situation as Saylor, but with Ethereum. So Tom Lee, of course, betting on the next generation of internet, the next generation finance. Tom Lee betting on what some people used to call Web3 a while back. Of course, as you know on this channel, I tend to think that Solana is going to be a winner over Ethereum. But very likely, if we're objective, very likely Ethereum and Solana will likely get a fair share of the smart contract business. My main concern with Ethereum, of course, is that most of it is on Base, and Base is owned by Coinbase. So if you want to bet on smart contracts, maybe Coinbase is the better play. But anyways, you can be wrong. I think Tom Lee, it will be very, very interesting what Tom Lee has to say about this. Tom Lee has had some epic takes in the field of treasury companies, by the way. I love these early podcasts back in August and August, back in the fall. Tom Lee was making some really, really good podcasts about how oil companies should and used to actually trade on their oil reserves. And it's actually a much better way to value oil companies to just look at their reserves and trading on their reserves. I thought it was pretty clever. Tom Lee is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see if there's going to be a clash maybe between Saylor and Tom Lee. I don't think so, because Tom Lee is politically correct. He's been in the field for a long time. But it will be interesting. Lina Alden, she's always solid. I mean, she's been around for so long, and she's almost on every call now. And Dan Hillary, that will be good, right? Part of a True North group, and it's a good connector between X and YouTube, because let's face it, unfortunately, much of the sentiment that we have about these stocks, has to do with people freaking out on X and on YouTube, and so you need some people who talk to the crowd, and the crowd is on X and on YouTube. So moving on, what do I expect? I expect nothing. I expect nothing at all. Literally nothing. First of all, strategy rarely jumps or dumps on earnings. If you look at the past, all the prior earnings, very seldom do we get a move. MSTR right now, the stock, moves mostly based on Bitcoin. It moves correlated to Bitcoin. 1.5x Bitcoin plus or minus 0.5 if you want to take a wide range. So actually today it outperformed Bitcoin actually today. Do I expect some nuggets to be dropped? Yeah, I expect a few nuggets to be dropped. We know what Saylor is working on. He's likely working on a high yield checking account with a correlation of 0 and sharing the margin between stretch and what the consumer gets, sharing that margin between the 11.25% delta and say whatever someone would get on a checking account powered by stretch, like a 7%. So that 5% delta would go to the bank, because you got to find a bank to bear the risk of somebody withdrawing the money when there is a crash. He intimated this before. I think a high-yield checking account, I think a partnership with a bank is coming at some point. And of course, if you can withstand holding stretch, you will likely find it not interesting at all. But this asset will be interesting to a lot of retirees, to a lot of people who have never invested before, to a lot of people who can't even fathom the idea of losing $1 for every 100 they invest, which right now is the value prop of stretch. Right now, stretch, you really... The drawdowns have been, what, $1, $1.50 from that 100? Well, for some people, even that is too much. Some people ask for 100% risk-free. It's actually a wide margin of a wide number of people. A lot of people do that. I could expect perhaps some insights if questions are asked about tokenized versions of Stretch. Of course, we know there's going to be a tokenized version of Stretch launched in a few months. I don't follow that too closely, but Stretch, of course, is the Santi stable coin for TradFi, the way I call it. You could have a corollary in DeFi. You could and it's coming. One is coming for Stretch in DeFi. So I think versions of Stretch translated into a stable coin for DeFi. I think those versions could be very interesting, especially if trading at $1. I expect there could be some questions about it. Who knows? Perhaps about Tom Lee, right? Perhaps a tokenized Stretch could trade on Ethereum, because it certainly can't trade on the Bitcoin network. Bitcoin network is not designed for this. But we frankly need to do nothing. The strategy is perfect as it is. To me, there is nothing to do. All we need is for people to stop freaking out, and we just need to recover. We just need Bitcoin to recover. Sometimes the best thing to do is wait. That's all we need to do. And to be honest, I've said this before, but I am not sure you can buy that much Bitcoin at 72,000 right now. Like if you were to place a big bid at 72, would you actually get it? I'm absolutely not sure about that. We've seen dislocations in those store value assets. We've seen people with silver and ounces of silver, silver's trading at 120. They couldn't even get 60 or 70 for it. We've seen big dislocation in selling real assets, underlying assets. I have to wonder, what if someone wants to buy 10,000 Bitcoin spot? Like, would they be available? Would they be available? That's the big question. And oftentimes what would happen is actually Bitcoin would explode to the upside. So perhaps there is a deeper reason about liquidity as to why sailors always buy OTC. Because perhaps the price advertised is not the actual price. It's a price if you want to buy a couple Bitcoins, that's the price. But if you want to have a big order, is that really the price? Over the medium term, I think institutions will bid the Bitcoin back up, because institutions don't really do leverage. The true institutional investors, the Fidelities, the Harvards of the world, the family offices of the world, they don't do leverage. They invest for centuries. And if you and a lot of that drawdown has to do with people getting liquidated, most likely, right? A lot of degens doing 20x leverage. If you do 20x leverage, Bitcoin drops 5%, you get wiped out. Your investment is gone. So I expect nothing. I hope there will be not much, because frankly, right now, all the investor needs, all strategy needs right now is patience, patience, patience. That is all we need. And Sailor has had tremendous patience indeed. Okay. So, of course, today, epic dump in Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually at 71,400 as I speak right now. So not 71,900. So Bitcoin under 72,000. Epic dump, of course, it dominates the headlines. Everybody's reporting this. And this is true Wednesday night as I record this. But, and this is going to make the bears mad. The bears prepare to be mad. This is going to hurt the bears' heels. Strategy is only down 3%. On a day, same trading hours, Bitcoin is down 4%. Is that the performance strategy should have? No, strategy should be down 6%. We are not down 6%. Our correlation is 0.78 or 0.76 right now. We are dropping way less than Bitcoin. MNAV is actually slightly going up at 1.1. And remember, this is the MNAV assuming equitization and assuming perpetual debt. If you assume converts will equitize, if you assume the debt is perpetual, which it is, then that's the MNAV to use. 1.1. I would argue we're doing well. Perhaps Sailor has stopped issuing shares. Actually, he most likely stopped issuing shares. That's most likely the reason, because we are in closing the books season. We are in earnings season. We report earnings. So that's most likely the reason why we're outperforming. We did a lot better than Bitcoin. Sorry, the bears, but that's true. We did a lot better than Bitcoin. So anyways, multiple days of outperformance. So we should have been down much more. But now this is almost 3 days in a row of outperformance. If you look at it, almost 3 days in a row. And then the last point is Stretch. Of course, Stretch is the iPhone moment of strategy. Stretch is the perfect product. Stretch is the product that Sailor has said he wishes he had come up with right away. right? Stretch is the product that ASST and SATA are going with, and only with Stretch, right? ASST and SATA strive. They did not make the mistakes of strategy. They did not learn by doing. Saylor already said multiple times, had he known, he wouldn't have done the converts. He also said that about strike. Had he known, he would have not done strike. So that's why my favorite preferred strategy is strike, because you get a perpetual call option. Think about how valuable that is. Anyways, like clockwork, you raise the yield by 25 basis points. That's what strategy did. So you're forcing Stretch to get back to 100. Stretch is acting as intended. It barely moves. It barely moved today, 0.47. Stretch is low volatility. But make no mistake, the volatility goes to strategy. And over a long run, if you're a Bitcoin investor, you know that the volatility of strategy over a long run is upward volatility. Stretch is working as intended. So quite frankly, all we have to do is wait. All we have to do is wait and be patient, and maybe go read Will Durant's book from Saylor that he always praises about. Maybe go in the forest. This is what I said in my prior video. Do something else. Have fun. And just wait. That's all we need to do. So, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. Exclusively entertainment. It is all it is. I hope you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and you bet I will be following the call.